Hey guys, it's Shotaro here again. So this is part 2 of the speedrunning tutorial for Rayman on PlayStation 1. This is level Anguish Lagoon, because we've just beaten Pink Plant Woods. And yes, we want 3 cages here, because in this game the any percent, which is beating it as fast as possible, is the same as 100%, which is completing it with everything. Considering the only way to beat this game is to collect every single cage. Then you unlock the final level and beat the final boss. So we're going to need every single cage. Because we don't have all the power-ups at the beginning, some of the cages are really difficult or impossible to get without certain power-ups, so we get a certain amount of them now, and then we'll revisit later in one big go to collect all the ones that we've missed. So 3 are the... we want 3 cages right now for Pink Plant Woods before we move on to Anguish Lagoon. So let's go. Okay, so this starts out as usual, just walk to the right. You can jump and punch this guy to get rid of him. Now here, you could just punch this plum and then land on it like that, which is quite simple. Let me just go back to stop it from moving. Oh, okay. So, let me reload the save state and save here. So as I said, you can jump and punch to get that guy out of the way. So instead of just punching like this, which is quite slow, but obviously if you don't want to do any risky strats because you just started learning, I recommend just doing this. But what you can also do is, if you look at my inputs now, I jump and then punch a tiny bit later. Because if I did that, that was me doing it at the same time and I just missed. So if I do it where I jump just a bit before I punch. Oops, let me do it again. We land on the plum. So if you punch it just about there, just before we fall off, you can land on the plum and get straight up here. So just watch my inputs if you're not too sure of how to do that. So what that should do is give us a good cycle for this. Jump up here, these platforms do fall, and then, you know, double the power if you're in midair. So we jump before we punch, and then we break the cage. Jump over that hammer. Now this guy right here can be a bit of a pain. Let me save just before him here. You can jump over this guy if you time it right. I don't think it's worth it if you've just learned. See how you miss it there? It's not exactly consistent. Yeah, so you get the idea. You crouch straight underneath it, and at the first opportunity you try and jump over him. I didn't get it that time. But what you usually do to be safe, just crouch underneath, jump and punch to kill that guy in one hit, and then break the cage. But what you could also do is go underneath, jump, and then turn the opposite way, and he pushes you to the left. Now if you want to keep your health, I don't recommend doing that, but it's another way of getting through him. But like I said, jumping over him is a difficult timing. I don't recommend doing it if you've just started out. So this boss, we want to punch him for the first 2 hits, because he has 5 health. The first 2 hits, you want to punch him as near to the top of the screen as possible. If you jump and punch too early, you'll miss him, and then he might hit you, and then everything's completely slower because you have to wait an entire turn. But we want to hit him just high enough that we have the minimum distance for him to travel back up to the top of the screen, but we don't completely miss it and fail it. So that's a good height. So because obviously it takes longer for him to move to the top of the screen if he's further away. So once we get those 2 hits, we move over to the right. Now he's coming from the left. You can see his the end of his nose thing there. We're going to want to... there's speculation of what's faster, punching him as soon as he's on the left or punching him in the middle of the screen. I'm going to punch him in the middle of the screen. Like that. He's going to do that again, so just stay on this side. Jump and punch him in the middle of the screen. And then now, he's going to go off the screen, and then when he comes back on, he might attempt to dodge your attack. So I'm going to stay right here. So if you punch before he comes back onto the screen, he won't try and dodge your hit. So if you punch now, he won't dodge it. And what I mean by a dodge, if I don't punch, look, he dodges my fist. So punching before he comes on won't dodge that. Or you could get incredibly close to him. Even still, he attempted to dodge that, but I still managed to hit him. If you get really close, you can hit him like that. So there's a couple of different ways you could do it. But either way, just get that final hit, and then he's done. And then we move on to the first auto-scroller of the game. There are quite a few of them. So, what I will say about this auto-scroller before we start, there are certain parts in this auto-scroller that move faster than other parts. So what we're going to attempt to do, by moving to the left or right hand side of the screen, is optimize the speed of the auto-scroller by making the slow parts as short as possible and the fast parts as long as possible, so we get the most speed. So if I say go to the left or go to the right, it'll be because we're trying to optimize it. So right from the start, you can collect all these things, or if you go down to this first thing, you get a life, which is handy. And if you get the life quickly, you can actually go back and get a couple things. So you get these things, get the fists, nothing too major here. You want to stay to the left hand side of the screen around here, because just past this cage is going to be where it slows down. So if we're on the left, it's going to slow down at the very last moment that it can. So you can kill these guys if you want to. You can go, there's two paths here, you can go at the top or bottom. I go on the top, but if you're short on things, go on the bottom. If you go to the right hand side, that life appears right there. So feel free to just pause and rewind any of this if you want to take it slowly. So we're going to stay on the right hand side of the screen at the beginning of this part. There are hammers that are shot at you by the hunter. He's going to shoot them in the middle, at the top, and in the middle. So after this first one, I'm going to move down and then move back up after the second one. Oh, see, I missed that. But see how you had to move down and move back up? So now that it's sped up now, you saw that it's sped up, we're going to move to the left. And then just around where you see the hunter, like right now, you want to move to the right again. And that's going to optimize the auto-scroller. So now we want to stay on the right hand side. We're going to collect all these things, go down here, follow the things, and then collect all these, and then in line with this there will be the goalpost. And there we're done with the auto-scroller and pretty much the level. All we have is a Batilla screen. Okay, so now you can hang off things. Again, the right of this tree is where I like to jump to grab. It's nothing major, but you know, it's just good optimization if you want to. And then press X again, and nothing much to that. So that's the end of Anguish Lagoon, and that's the end of part 2. The parts will get exceedingly long as the levels start to get longer. I could have fitted these levels into one video, but I thought it would be easier in small doses, if that makes sense. So that was Anguish Lagoon. Next we'll be moving on to Swamps of Forgetfulness. Remember, you do want only 3 cages in Anguish Lagoon, because we'll go back for them. So Swamps of Forgetfulness is where the run starts to get difficult. So I might have to go into detail about this level, and we'll save that till next time. So let me know if these tutorials are helping you, and let me know if you have any questions. I'll see you next time. Bye.